round of photo editing. I am going to be showing you guys how to adjust the color of your image. So if you're like, I don't really want to mess around with adding things or duplicating certain parts of my photo, no worries. Just go over to Image. So right at the top of your browser, you're going to click right on where it says Image. Then you're going to click on Adjustments. Now these are all different ways to play with the colors, saturation, filters, lots of different fun things. So play around here. If you press desaturate, it will get rid of all of the color. So if you want your photo to be black and white, that's an option. I'm going to press Control Z to go back. So I'm going to go back to Image Adjustments. You can edit brightness and contrast. So if I go bump up the brightness, it'll get really white. If I bump up the contrast, it will make the darks really dark and the lights really light. So there you go. The next one under Image Adjustments is Levels. Levels is a way to edit all of the light levels on your photo. So if you click and drag these different squares, right now I am moving the threshold for the highlights to be a little bit lower, so lots of things are white. Same thing if I move the dark square over to the right, it gets really dark. Maybe I want kind of an eerie photo editing job for this to make it kind of look like a creepy mansion. I don't know. I'm going to go back over to Image Adjustments. Exposure. So exposure is how much light the camera let in while it was taking the photo. So more exposure, the lighter it's going to be. The less exposure, the darker it's going to be. I'm going to make mine a little bit dark and scary. Now if you go up to Image Adjustments, Vibrance. Vibrance will change how vibrant or how like bold an image is going to be. Saturation changes how colorful it is. So when I drag this all the way across, you can see no saturation, it's black and white. Lots of saturation, the colors are very saturated, very colorful, and full of pigment. So maybe I'll leave it right there. Now I'm noticing, I think that my image looks a little bit too dark. So I'm going to go back to Image Adjustments. Now, if you want, you can go to Curves. If you move this line, you can also bend it in many different ways to see how light or how dark you want the image to be. So I'm going to kind of bump it up like that. Now I'm going back to Image Adjustments, Photo Filter. You can put a color on top. So maybe you want green. If you change it to green, that's what it'll look like. If you change it to that lovely like golden color that I had before, it's going to look like an antiqued photo. So that's pretty cool. Leave it like that. If I go back to Image Adjustments, and over here you can see I showed you desaturate, you can edit the shadows and highlights, you can invert your colors, so that makes it look extra spooky. Maybe I want to keep it like that. Image Adjustments is really mostly where you're going to stay for this. So I would use the ones that I just showed you. If you want to explore the other ones, you can. However, they can get a little bit tricky, so I might just skip over that for our first photo editing project. So another thing you can do is Image Transform. You can flip it horizontally, so it'll flip like that. You can flip it vertically, so Image Transform. You can rotate it if you need to. So that's a way you can kind of fix if you took it like vertically with your phone and you want it to be horizontal. That's an easy fix. Going over to Edit, you can also click Transform There's scale, rotate, distort, perspective, warp. There's lots of different options over here. So I'm in edit and transform. So if I click scale, remember scale is like the fancy artworm word for size. So if I click that down, I can make it bigger or smaller. Now, if you want it to stay the same ratio or the same proportions while you're clicking and dragging, hold down the shift key. So when I hold down the shift key, my image stays just like that. If I don't, it's gonna start to go all over the place. So quick tip, hold down your shift key. All right, now I'm gonna go to edit, transform. Maybe I want to warp the image a little bit. So you will see there's like little tiny squares that pop up on the canvas. If you click it and drag it, you can kind of change the way the image looks. So I'm kind of like twisting the image. Looks like something from the show Goosebumps. Um, so you can play around with that if you want. I don't usually use that for photo editing, but it is an option. Okay, here we go.